Hi, everybody. It is a lovely morning on the Ides of December. And frankly, I am avoiding my work inbox. I don't want to do it right now. So I thought, well, I owe a podcast episode. Let's get started on that instead. I apologize to those of you who are only going to be listening to this on Spotify because this is kind of a visual heavy episode, but since I'm now filming these episodes and putting them on YouTube, there will be a link to that on my Facebook page, and you can see all of the pretty things. Apologies for the shaking of the camera. Flash is trying to make his way over here, but that's not going to work for this episode. Anyways, so last night I was looking at my Facebook page, Perfect Disaster Pod, for anybody who wants to have a glance over that way. And I'd gotten a couple of new views, so I was looking at my page analytics, and that led to me reviewing some of the titles of previous podcast episodes, and it reminded me that, holy crap, this podcast has gotten so much more dire and not dark, but like heavy than I originally anticipated it being. The description for this pod is the day-to-day living with it. And it seems like all I ever focus on this podcast is the stuff that's hard to live with. And I realized that, holy crap, if all you know about me is what you hear on my podcast, I must sound like the most depressed, sad, pathetic little basement gremlin that ever did exist. So I thought I want to do at least one episode about happy things. So this inspired me last night at about midnight to dash around my apartment and pick up just a number of things that make me happy. And I thought I'd do a show and tell video for you. If I turn this into a quasi-series, or if I decide to do another episode like this, I'll focus on some non-material things like podcasts I love, YouTube channels I watch all the time, other random stuff and things. But I'm going to start with the physical stuff. So, welcome to, 30 to 40 minutes of pretty things show and tell, all of which just makes me happy. I thought it would be nice to be smiling on camera for once. So, let us begin. I'm going to start with the Charlie Brown Christmas tree. If you listened to the last podcast episode, you know I have really complicated feelings about Christmas and the holiday season in general. Normally, I don't even bother putting up this much. I normally cannot be bothered to put up holiday decorations for myself because, again, complicated feelings about this season. But this year, I wanted my Charlie Brown Christmas tree up. So here it is. It looks just as sad and scrawny as I could possibly hope. So it's gonna live over here in the corner of the shot. And it's just gonna, there, I put up holiday decorations. And while we're focusing on the corner of the shot, that poster right there of those three snot-nosed punks, that makes me really happy. I got that poster at a show that they did 4 years ago. Oh my God, that makes me so sad. But it was 4 years ago for the Rev Rad tour. They were playing at the Aragon Ballroom, which is this beautiful, really intimate concert venue in Chicago. And my dear friend Shauna knows that that's my favorite band. And she got us tickets to go to see Green Day. And because the Aragon is so intimate, we somehow managed to get right up to the center stage barrier. So I was literally 30 feet away from this band that has saved my life multiple times and has made me so happy over the years. And I got to stand there for like a 2.5-hour show, just howling in glee and belting lyrics along to all these songs that I've loved for so many years. It was one of the best concerts I've ever been to in my life. And every time I look at my precious poster, it makes me so happy. So I keep them right by my dining room table, which is serving as my home office. And whenever I'm feeling particularly frustrated, I just glance over that way, and it gives me the mental fortitude to survive for another 20 minutes or so. And while we're on that topic, thing I'm going to show off my phone. Not so much for the phone itself. It's a pretty basic Samsung, but I'm using the phone as the physical representation of my Google Drive, because on my Google Drive is this extensive archive of RPs and old stories that I've been writing with my online writing partners since I was 18 years old. Just so many stupid, ridiculous, amazing little RPs that we've done throughout the years. And those RPs eventually morphed into the foundational work for the grand epic mythology verse that I now co-own with my dear friend Henderson. It's a mess of a verse, y'all. It was originally based on American Idiot, which is why it's related to the poster. It has now grown into its own thing. So really the only things that are still at all inspired by American Idiot is a couple of the character names and some other names and titles that have been lifted from other Green Day songs and lyrics. But it's now basically its own little verse, and I adore it. Whenever I'm feeling particularly sad or nostalgic or just want to escape for 30 minutes, I'll pull up the old RPs and I'll read them. And it's actually, there's a quote about writing that I love a lot, and I forget what exactly it is and who exactly said it, but it basically goes, the first few years that you're a writer, everything that you write is complete crap, but you keep writing because that's how you improve your skills. And it's so true. I look back at some of the RPs that I wrote when I was 18, 19 years old, and like, those characters, man, they were a hot mess. They didn't want to have any character flaws. Their relationships were incredibly juvenile and melodramatic and ridiculous. And my self-insert character, if she had a chance to like sacrifice herself for the greater good, or if there was anything remotely upsetting her, she would go and like swim with the fishies, which meant she would swan dive off of this 50-foot ledge and just dive down into the bay waters below to swim with the fishies. Like, it's ridiculous. And yet those RPs are the foundation for this now sprawling, epic, mythological nonsense universe that I love so dearly. So that makes me really happy too. So let's start with this pile of things about that tall that I just grabbed from around my apartment. I'm going to start with this. This is an incense burner that I got from Shauna. It's a teapot with a little teacup, and it's one of those magical incense things where all the smoke flows downwards. So I'm gonna pull out an incense cone and I'm gonna run it and just let it kind of sit, because it makes me so happy just to look at this thing burning. And I'll hold it up to the camera and we can all watch it burn together for a minute. Just indulge in our mutual pyromania. So the thing about these incense cones is they take forever to light and get going. Just noxious. But I'm a big fan of incense. Part of that is because, paganism, and part of it is just because it smells good. So let's get this going. Get this burning. I'll let it get situated and we'll come back to it and we can all watch the smoke flow down together. So let that get started. All right. So, thing. This is a really pretty pillow. It's a throw pillow. It's green checkerboard with some pink and green braid, some little floral rosettes, a couple of bees, and it's got these little pink beady trim things all around the pillow. And 2 years ago now, I think it was about 2 years ago, when I started talking about renovating my bedroom and kind of growing it up a little bit, making it look slightly more adult. My cousin Miriam got really involved and excited about that project. So when I told her what I was broadly thinking, roses, pink and green, make it pretty, she found this pillow and she gave it to me. So eventually it will sit on my bed when I have finished painting my bedspread. Bed set. Words. Oof. When I finish painting my bed set and I buy my new mattress and I have a big grown-up bed, this is going to sit on the bed. Until then, I just kind of look at it and hold it every once in a while because it's so pretty. And growing up, I was never really interested in having a pretty bedroom. My bedroom walls were always covered in like pictures of celebrities and artwork, and me being the sad emo child that I was a lot more interested in having like dark, edgy, cool bedroom. But the older I get, the more I want pretty things, and the more my like Victorian cabinet of curiosities self develops, and I want pretty things. So for those of you who are just listening on the Spotify, I'm like stroking and cuddling my pillow. I am not sorry. But yeah, so this whole aesthetic of pink and green and roses and curly cues and excessive bead fringe, this is my new bedroom aesthetic. And I will someday have that bedroom completely curated. It is not this day. But throw that over there. Move on to the next thing. Haha. Now the incense is starting to do what it's supposed to do. So I'll lift this up to the camera so you can see. It's one of those really cool ones where the smoke comes from the bottom of the incense cone and flows down into the incense holder. So the smoke comes out like tea from the teapot and it gathers into the tea bowl at the bottom. And it's so cute. It's so amazing. This is my exact aesthetic. Teapots and emo. I don't think I'm actually a fan of this scent of incense, but I'm going to let it keep going for now because I've got other stuff to show you. So, this satchel, it is a blue corduroy satchel. It's not quite laptop size. It's just like a little messenger bag satchel. I inherited this from my place of work. We have a lost and found at the front desk, obviously. And because I am the front desk receptionist, in addition to all of my other jobs, I always get first dibs of stuff when it's time to empty out the lost and found bin and bring all the stuff to Goodwill. So I inherited this satchel, and it came to me just really plain, like just the empty space satchel. There's no pockets or anything inside, and I thought that was really boring. So I embroidered on the front cover. It's kind of hard to make out. I would have done this a bit differently if I were to redo it, but it has tree branches and flowers and leaves and vines and a few birds. I learned how to do this sort of almost crazy stitching embroidery a couple of years ago, and I thought it would look really cool to embroider the front of the satchel, and it does. It looks really cool. I'm very proud of myself. I added a lining to the entire inside, so that, the satchel had a little bit of protection against the inevitable day that I spill my water bottle or like something shreds inside and there's a whole mess. I also added a couple of pockets to the inside. There's no good way to show you, but I added a big pocket to the front of the satchel, and I added a water bottle pocket to the side, which I actually made out of the sleeve of a child's shirt. I should have gotten a slightly larger bit of fabric, but I inherited this fabric from Miriam. She gave me a whole bunch of fabrics for my crazy quilting days, and this shirt was her daughter's, and she outgrew it, so she gave it to me. So yeah, I updated and upgraded and made this satchel cool, and I'm really proud of it. I think I did a great job. It took me ages because I decided to hand sew the entire thing like a moron. But I did not yet have my sewing machine, so hand sewing it was. And I didn't mind it. It did take forever, but the hand sewing part was very self-soothing. It made me feel really good to just sit down in the evenings with my sewing and my YouTube. And so yeah, the satchel took literal ages, but it's so worth it. And I can't wait to start using it in my day-to-day life. Okay, next thing. So this weird looking contraption, this is a back support belt that I recently got. I got it from Walgreens, in case anybody is interested in getting one of their own. So it's got a back like your standard sports bra and straps that go over your shoulders. And then the belt, on me, the belt sits directly under my bust line. So this is really great for back support and also for pulling my shoulders down from my ears. Because that's one of my huge areas of stress, is that my shoulders, when I'm the least bit tense, they go straight up into my ears until I look like a little turtle trying to hide in its shell. And I've been researching ways to combat that. And I found this back support brace at Walgreens. So I bought it. It's like $20. It's really not expensive at all. And I use it during my work days. It helps me, obviously it improves my posture. It relieves some of the stress from my back. And oddly enough, when I am wearing this, I feel more awake and more alert. And that makes it easier to get my work done. So this was an excellent investment, and I very much recommend it. Pop on this black felt fedora of mine. I bought this when I was 15, 16 years old, I think, because round about that time in my life, I was A, obsessed with Jesse James, B, obsessed with the movie American Outlaws because Jesse James, and C, I was writing this Western that was one part Jesse James and one part self-insert fan fiction. And I bought this black fedora because it was like a little character piece. I would pop it on my head when I was writing, and it would help me get into my Gracie Girls mindset. So I have had this ever since. And this has actually become one of my semi-important stage management props. I am not even kidding. I will often wear this hat as part of my stage management uniform. 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, a while ago, I was doing a Halloween show. It was a Western zombie horror show, and it was one of the best things I've ever done. And because it was a zombie Western, obviously I had to be in some sort of costume. So every night I would pop on my fedora. I would have a black bandana either around my neck or on my head. I had my fingerless gloves. I had a belt that was just stock full of tools. Like I was walking around with a 6-shooter on. I looked kind of ridiculous, but it's one of the best shows that I've ever done. And I felt so badass just strutting through the theater in my fedora. So yeah, my fedora makes me super duper happy. Plop that down there. And this throw blanket is from the Care Rescue Center in Texas. It's a rescue center for large cats, like lions and tigers, not like particularly large house cats. My dear friend Sandra lives in San Antonio, and she is a patron for the Care Rescue Center. And she sent me this throw. This is a mountain lion. Mountain lions are my Patronus. If I was an animagus, I would be a mountain lion. So she sent me a throw blanket with the face of one of the mountain lions who has been rescued by the Care Rescue Center. I'll actually go ahead. I'll put their information down in the doobly-doo below, so that if you're interested in the care and rescue of large cats, you can help and donate and give them all of the money, because this is a really worthy cause. And their animals are all adorable. It's going to be such a long video. Oh my God. So this is a head scratcher. Was it my mom or my sister? I think it was my mom. No, it might actually have been Leanne, now that I'm thinking about it. Bought all three of us these head scratchers for Christmas last year. And Sarah's and Leanne's are just plain silver. I got the rainbow one because, I'm the queer sibling. And Leanne thought that was a ridiculously fun joke. She was right. So it works like any other head tingler, but I love the fact that it's a rainbow. So I can massage my brain with my queerness when I'm fighting off a headache. I absolutely recommend getting a head tingler, getting any sort of head massager, even if it's just to play with, even if it's just to simulate ASMR, because head tinglers, they are a necessary part of everyday life. Oh, okay. This is a recent purchase. There is an occult store a little bit north of me called Alchemy Arts, which is hands down the best occult store in the city. I love it there so very much. And I always intend to just walk in and grab a couple of quick things for whatever ritual or spell or whatever I'm working on. And I always walk out spending like $100 at a time. And I have no regrets. Absolutely worth it every step of the way. So the last time I was there, I found this steampunk pen calligraphy set. It is a raven, an imitation raven feather set into this metal hand grip, which I'll put it a little bit closer and you can see there's filigree on it because steampunk. And it also comes with black and red inks. This is so incredibly extra, and I love everything about it. I use this primarily when I'm writing my poetry because, you know, who doesn't want to be 6 shades of extra? It's a dip pen, which is my one problem with it. I actually prefer fountain pens because then I don't have to stop every 3 words to re-ink the pen. I honestly don't know how my writing forebears managed to write when they had to stop every 3 seconds to re-ink their quills. It's so obnoxious. But I'm sure you can find this online. It's Lo Scarabeo. I'm probably butchering that Italian. I apologize. But yeah, you can find it online, I'm sure, and it's extra and steampunk, and I love everything about it. What else have I got? Oh, whoops. This little statuette. It is, for those of you following along on Spotify, it's just a pewter statuette with the comedy and tragedy theater masks on it. Every school, every small organization, everybody everywhere, they have their own versions of the Tonys. And when I was in college, our version of the Tonys was the Joeys. And in 2010, the Joey Award for Best Show went to the musical that I stage managed that year, which was 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. To this day, still the only musical that I have fond memories of stage managing. Some later day, I'll go on a big old theater rant about why I hate stage managing musicals. But for now, so 2010, my show won Best Show of the Year award, and my director and my advisor gave me the statue. And I was so grateful because A, this is one of the best shows that I have ever stage managed, and B, I was kind of a drama queen back in college. Like I wanted awards and accolades for my hard work, damn it. And I never got them until my senior year when I got the Joey for Best Show. This stays on my my dresser, which my dresser actually lives in the front room of my apartment because it doesn't hold clothes. It holds like knickknacks and all of my crafting supplies. So I have a little curated display on top of my dresser that has all my theater stuff, and I'll give you a tour of that someday. But this sits there where I can look at it every time I walk by and just smile and remember my spellers. Someday, y'all, we need to actually get together and put on the revival of that show because it's been 10 years now and we deserve to do it again. So a while back, my mom sent me home with my box full of memories. They're things that she had been holding on to and curating since I was born. And this piece of cross stitching, it reads, "Marriage, may there be such a oneness between you that when one weeps, the other will taste salt." And it's done, again, in pinks and greens. This cross-stitch sampler was actually started by my grandmother. She never finished it, I think because she didn't have the patience for it, maybe. But when I was 12 or 13 years old, I somehow inherited this sampler, and I stitched it together myself. And I think I did a good job for a 13-year-old. Granted, the pattern was right there to follow, and it's all cross stitches, so there's no... there's one little section where there's a chain stitch. But other than that, like, this is an incredibly simple pattern to follow. But I was really proud of myself for finishing it. And that was kind of... It's not the first piece that I had ever cross-stitched, but it was the first complex piece I ever did. So I'm proud of it. And when I get frustrated by my current embroidery projects or clothing mending projects, I look at that and it reminds me, I managed to cross stitch a whole thing when I was 13. I can manage to put pockets in this pair of pants. Similarly, along with my box of memories, got this little train conductor hat. When I was an itsy bitsy and we were living in Wisconsin, my dad volunteered at the Wisconsin Dells with their, I actually don't know what the program was. It was some sort of I don't remember what the point was, but there were trains. And my dad was a huge train nut. So he would go up a lot of weekends during the warmer months and he would operate the trains and he'd be in his striped conductor overalls. And my mom, being my mom, also bought matching overalls for me and for Sarah. Leanne didn't get any because she wasn't born yet. But so we got overalls and we got these little train conductor hats just like Daddy. He most often operated this. It was not a full-size train. It was like a 3/4 size. And it would do little circle tours around whatever resort or whatever he was working at. And Sarah and I thought the coolest thing in the world was to be sitting in the first train car behind Daddy with our matching conductor outfits and watch Daddy drive the train. This hat is obviously way too small for my head now. I just tried to put it on and I can't even get it over the crown of my head. But I'm going to have to find some creative way to display this because this is a really happy set of memories that I've got of me and my dad. And I could always do with more purely happy memories of my father. Let's see, what else? Oh, so these 4 little pill jars. I went to Michael's one day and I bought these little, I think these are 3 ounce. Yeah, these little 3 ounce glass jars. And I use them to store my medication. This one is empty because I have to actually go and get the refill prescription. But so these are the 2 doses of my antidepressants, my venlafaxine. This empty one holds my gabapentin. And this last one holds my lamotrigine, which is my bipolar medication. And I'm going to take a second to make a pitch here because I resisted being on medication for a lot of years. I thought I had a lot of just inherited stigma against medication. I thought I didn't actually need to be medicated because all of my mental health issues were emotional reactions to things that had happened to me. So I didn't think that I needed medication. And I fought against getting medication for a really long time. Then finally, my therapist convinced me to go to a psychiatrist friend of hers. And he started putting me on medication. And even though it took us 6 or 8 months before we got the correct mix and dosage of medications, I have felt so much better since starting medications. I can't even remember how bad it was when I didn't take these. So if you want to learn anything from my life mistakes, please don't fight the need for medication. Because as my psychiatrist has told me, depression is a physical illness with mental side effects. Depression is a chemical imbalance inside your brain. And just like you take antiviral medication or antibacterial medication to take care of other physical illnesses, you take medication to help your brain chemicals regulate so that you can get back to a level of functioning that actually feels like functioning and not just, slogging through your bad mental health. So please, 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 please take medication. And if it makes you feel better to put them in these little glass jars instead of the depressing orange pill bottles, I totally get that. I fully support you. you deserve to have pill bottles in your aesthetic. Going along with mental health, this is another recent purchase. When I was back in Indiana in October, my sister and I took our nieces out for a day of like adventures. So we went shopping and we went for food and we went to the park, and it was this whole big thing. But while we were shopping at TJ Maxx, because that is Leanne's crack, I found the Sacred Self-Care Oracle by Jill Pyle. Was not expecting to find this at TJ Maxx, but I'm really glad I did. So these oracle cards, each of them holds a different idea for self-care. And it's things like, remember to hydrate, take a day and work out your financial budget and set your financial goals and all the ways that you need to reach them, make a healthy meal, dance, use your intuition, build strength, spend time with animals. There's how many? There's 55 cards, and each card has a different method of self-care and different ideas that you can try. And I really like this self-care oracle. I think it's really helpful on days when I know I'm feeling a little blah, but I can't think of any reason or anything to do to help myself. This oracle deck is really, really helpful. It's just got really good, simple, quick ways that instantly boost your mental health. Sacred Self-Care Oracle. Buy it for yourself. You will not regret it. None of this is sponsored, by the way, but I'll find links to the stuff that can be purchased, and I'll put them in the doobly-doo. So this is my 2021 planner. It is the Make It Happen Daily Planner from Leaders in Heels, which is a group that I follow on LinkedIn. They are a consortium of career women whose goal is to mentor and lift up other women in the business world, which is really cool. And they have all sorts of daily planners and note-taking journals. And I got this one for next year's work schedule. And it's full of like inspiring quotes. And I really love the way that the day is set up. Hold this up here. I don't think you can actually read it. But there's sections in here for, these are my top 3 priorities for the day. These are my to-do lists to cross off those top priorities. Here are secondary priorities that I can get to eventually. Here's my reward for getting through my 3 priorities. There's space for follow up with. So if I have to schedule meetings or if there's stuff that I'm waiting on, I can do that. And it's a really simple, cool little planner. I do bullet journals, and I have since 2018 when that whole craze really started going off. But I've found that my life actually works better if I maintain multiple bullet journals at once. So I have one that is strictly for work purposes and that remains in my office. And then I have my life planner that comes along with me, and that has notes for my workday, but also that's where I keep track of theater. I keep my therapy notes in that bullet journal. That's where I do my mood tracking. So yeah, I highly recommend that you get a planner for work. Get multiple planners for work, actually. I'm actually looking forward. I have a notebook that I use for like my meeting minute taking, but I'm actually looking forward to grabbing the one from Leaders in Heels when I run through that notebook. So strongly recommend the daily planner. Strongly recommend Leaders in Heels. Actually, they're a really cool group of people. What else have I got? So this wrench, which has a telephone cord attached to it. This is my most prized possession. This was my dad's. He was a tech director, so he would spend his life handling all of the physical technical side of theater, building sets, setting lights, etc., so on and so forth forever. And he spent a lot of time up on ladders. So he got into the habit, and I don't think he's the only one by any means who does this, but it's how I learned about it. He got into the habit of attaching telephone cords to the base of his tools so that if the tool fell out of his grip or if it fell off the ladder, he wouldn't have to get off the ladder. He'd just pull up on the telephone cord and the tool would return to him. I got this wrench on my 16th birthday, which was about 3 months after my dad died. Mom had been going through the garage and she found this wrench and gave it to me. And it is my most important stage management tool. It comes with me to every performance, a fair amount of rehearsals. When it's not being used in an active show, it sits on my ancestor altar so that it can charge up with all of my dad's energy, so that when I feel really frustrated and I'm 2 seconds from hurling this wrench at whoever I'm angry with in the theater that day, I can grip it, focus on the faint whiff of Marlboro smoke, and just let dad's presence calm me down. So yeah, this is my theater wrench. And it makes me supremely happy. Oh my God, we're 40 minutes in and I'm not done yet. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all. I'm going to show you so many things that bring me joy. So this book, I just bought a couple of months ago. Unfuck Your Habitat by Rachel Hoffman. I've actually known about UFYH for several years because I first ran into it on Tumblr back when I, was actively on Tumblr. And it's a home organizational system full of swearing and quick rewards. The basic premise of this whole thing is that you clean your house in 20-minute bursts and you give yourself a 10-minute rest in between. And that way you're able to do longer marathon cleaning without burning yourself out within 2 hours. And there's obviously all sorts of other challenges, and here are ways that you can go about cleaning your house. I love the way that Rachel Hoffman writes. She writes a lot like I do, where it's all snark and sarcasm and a lot of swearing, which I find very refreshing and very helpful. So I was really happy to finally be able to buy the book after so many years of implementing the system. And you can actually, there's an app that you can get. I know you can get it through Google Play. I don't have an Apple product, but I imagine that it's available for Apple as well. But get the app, get the book, and let us all unfuck our habitats together. This other book, this is Good Morning, Good Night by Lin-Manuel Miranda. For those of you who are not on the twitter.com, every morning and every evening, Lynn posts a tweet that's inspirational and a way to kickstart our day. So let me read a pair of these for you. Good morning. You got a good head on your shoulders. As for your shoulders, fucking magnificent. Go get them today. Good night. Rest your weary head and those incredible shoulders. You did good today. They're little 30-second bits of motivation, and I love it so much. So much do I love the Good Morning, Good Nights. He's been doing this on Twitter for several years now, and just published the anthology in, when did this get published? Show notes. 2018 is when he published this. I'm waiting for the next volume. I need another volume. But yeah, Good Morning, Good Night. Literally 10 seconds to read the post, and the motivation just lasts all day long because, he's a beautiful human being that way. I promise we're getting through this pile of stuff. We're almost there, I promise. So this cup, this mug, This is from the Disney Villains collection, back when that was still a thing, and I don't understand why it's not a thing anymore because it was fantastic. It was for all of their most famous villains, and I got these cups actually for a number of friends of mine many years ago now. There was Ursula and Mother Gothel, Jafar, Hades, the Evil Queen, Maleficent, and the Queen of Hearts. I think there were a few others as well, but those were the important ones. And at the time, I was writing this massive beast of a fan fiction for Alice in Wonderland. And the Queen of Hearts had this whole role to play in it, as she always does. So I got myself the Queen of Hearts mug, and it's still one of my favorite possessions because the artwork is just incredible. I loved the villain concepts that they came up with for this line. Also, the cup is a really cool shape. Like, heck yeah. So I will drink my tea from this mug a lot, and I'll smile to myself, and I will remember those horrible, stubborn Outlanders and Wonderlanders who could not for the life of them follow the plot that I wanted them to. Anybody who tells you that they're in charge of what their characters are doing is a liar. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, this is possibly the most Tumblr thing I am ever going to say. I have the boyfriend candle. So, back in, I don't know when it was, 2016, 2015, back in the mid 2010s, this meme started spreading on Tumblr about the Mountain Lodge candle from Yankee Candle. And you have to track down the actual post that started it all, because the writing in and of itself, it's a treat. But this is called the boyfriend candle because it smells like cedarwood and sage, and it's described as, this smells like the perfect boyfriend. You know, that lumberjack in the slightly dirty Henley with his big full beard who picks you up and carries you off to his bower in the woods, and he makes your cabin for you, and while you're laying there in front of the fire, he whittles you a figurine. It's this whole thing on Tumblr, and eventually Yankee Candle actually started marketing these as the boyfriend candle, and it's amazing. And I've always wanted to get the Mountain Lodge candle, and I actually inherited this one from my aunt. So now I can just sit here and smell my boyfriend candle, and I don't have any need for a significant other anymore. They're in the jar. All the best parts of the significant other without any of the messy bits. Let's see. Things that make me happy. So this handheld mirror, this is it's not an antique, it's a vintage from about the 1930s. The back, underneath the protective plastic case, it's this piece of cloth with embroidered gold flowers and leaves. The mirror side of it is not in great shape. I need to do some research on how to clean and restore that. But ever since I've started putting together my adult bedroom with its actual, aesthetic cohesion, I've wanted to get some old-fashioned vanity products. And I especially wanted to get a hand mirror. And I found this one in an antique shop in Naperville when I was out visiting my aunt for Halloween. And it's so pretty. And I admit it can be a bit of a pain when I'm trying to do like my eyeliner and I'm trying to maneuver the mirror with the wand. But it's a pretty vintage hand mirror. And I've always wanted one. And now I have one. And anybody who tells you that money can't buy you happiness, sure, but money can also buy you pretty things to make you happy. So there's that. Let's see, what else have I got? So I was recently at the Body Shop, which is one of my favorite stores. I prefer it to Bath and Body Works. and it is second only to Lush in terms of products that I love. So while I was at the body shop, I was there looking for a perfume, but of course I couldn't walk away with just the perfume because how do you do that? So I ended up buying a couple of lipsticks, and I got this lip balm. It's called Born Lippy. This one is the raspberry flavor, and it smells so good. And I will say it's not the best for longevity. It does rub off pretty easily, but it tastes so delicious. I don't mind reapplying it. And it sits pretty well on my lips. It's not overly greasy. It's not overly heavy. And for those of you who are following along on the YouTube, it makes my lips look very pretty and pink. I don't normally go for pink glosses or lipsticks, so this was a nice find. Definitely recommend the Body Shop for your makeup needs. This, I've mentioned this before. This is one of my strings of meditation beads. I don't use japa mala because I'm not Buddhist, and I feel like using a japa is a little bit appropriative. But the concept of prayer beads is not limited to the japa mala or to rosaries. It's a pretty cross spiritual tool. So I made this set for myself. It is once again green and pink. I've accidentally found my aesthetic colors. I don't know how that happened, but here we are. And I use these when I'm feeling good about myself and I want to like maintain my feel good flow. These are the beads that I reach for. And they're just pretty, and they're a reminder that it's okay for me to believe good things about myself. Like, I don't have to shy away from compliments. I don't have to downplay my accomplishments. Like, I'm allowed to be proud of myself, and I'm allowed to believe good things about myself. So these devotional beads are super, super helpful. And they make me so happy. 2 things left, just 2. We're almost there. You've done so well. So this rose, it's made of metal. I think it's made of copper, actually. I went to the Renaissance Fair with my cousins, I don't know, very many years ago now. And we were wandering around the various stalls, and my cousin was asking me if I could come out and babysit overnight. I think it was a babysitting gig that we were negotiating. And she asked me, what can I do to bribe you to come and babysit my kids for me? And we were walking past a stall, and it had these little metal flowers. So I said, I want a metal rose. Buy me a metal rose and you have bought my babysitting services. So she went right over to the stall and she bought me this rose. And it has no practical use. It has some sentimental value, obviously, but like, it's just something pretty. And for a long time, I didn't let myself have just pretty things. So this rose was kind of a revelation to me because it has no practical purpose. There's nothing that it needs to do. It just exists as a pretty thing that I can have and enjoy just because it's pretty. So this rose was actually the first step in allowing myself to like the pretty, girly roses and green and pink aesthetic that is slowly becoming my life. So I recommend this to everybody. Let yourself have at least one thing that exists because it's beautiful and for no other reason. And now, the last thing on this massive show and tell of physical crap that makes me happy. This is a little serving tray. It has pressed flowers and pressed butterflies beneath the glass, especially a swallowtail butterfly, which is my favorite kind. And I inherited this from my great aunt after she died. I think we found this in my grandmother's house while we were cleaning that out, which was a whole other ordeal. But we found this serving tray, and I loved it. So I asked if I could have it, and everybody said that was fine. So this now sits on my vanity table. And again, it's something really pretty. And it's butterflies. If my Patronus was not a mountain lion, it would be a butterfly. So the thing that I'm learning about myself as I get older and as I get more secure in myself and stop caring so much about being, an emo brat. It's okay to like pretty things, and it's okay to love them just because they're beautiful. So let yourself have pretty things. It's okay. And with that, this has been almost an hour of me doing show and tell. I'm so sorry if you clicked out of this in the first 10 minutes. But thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that you stay safe and stay sane and embrace the pretty things that make you happy.